His grandma was upset that people call him left wing. I know, I saw that too. Yeah, that was also crazy. His grandmother was more upset at the fact that they were calling him a leftist than at the fact that he had shot Charlie Kirk. Like, she was like, listen, high profile figures is something that I'm, not too fond of, but I can understand it. Viral TikTok you're mentioned.
Guys, people like Dean Withers were crying over Charlie Kirk's death.
I think I saw this one.
They were friends. I remember one time on Hasan's stream, he brought up how Charlie Kirk asked Hasan in person to hang out. Like, this shit was a joke to him. And Hasan said no, because this shit is real life and he doesn't put Charlie Kirk. Also, guys, you remember that sex tape between Destiny and Nick Fuentes? Destiny was giving Nick Fuentes head or some shit. Or even how Destiny and Nick Fuentes be hanging out. All these establishment politics white boys hang out with each other behind scenes, and they hang out with shitty white supremacist shitty people. That's why when stuff like this comes out, everybody's buddy, everybody's crying. It's because they were all homies behind the scenes. But luckily, my GOAT Hasan, he ain't play like that. That's my GOAT.
What is that real? What do you mean? Which one? Which part of this? I don't know. Look, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if Dean and Charlie Kirk were friendly or whatever. I don't really know Dean that well, but I wouldn't assume that they were friends. But a lot of the people online, a lot of the people that do debates in general, no matter how crazy their political differences are, do actually see it as theater for the most part. Oh, did Nick really give D head? I don't know. He leaned into that initially, so. Probably not. I genuinely don't know. We don't know if he was sucking off Fuentes or not. But it was weird when it first came out because he didn't deny it, but then maybe he was doing it because he wanted to distract people away from the fact that it was all that was being distributed. Who knows? One-on-ones are a normal thing that doesn't make people friends. No, I mean, anyway. Tyler literally commented on how the news wanted to blame trans people. Lol. Wait, what is this? New York Times. After he murdered Charlie Kirk, the kid told his friends on Discord he heard the ammo had something about trans stuff on it. Robinson was watching the FBI try to pin it on the trans community instead of focusing on locating him. Wait, what? More obsessive. Wait, what the hell? Around the time, several news outlets reported ammunition found near a rifle at the scene included engravings referencing transgender ideology. The truth ultimately was that the engravings included the phrase, "Hey, fascist, catch," as well as lyrics from an anti-fascist Italian song and a reference to a sexual meme about a bulge. But at the time, before the exact phrasing of the engravings was publicly known, the suspect sent messages that suggested he was closely following the news. I heard the ammo had some about trans stuff on it, but they aren't releasing the photos or exact quotes he wrote. He added, and also the claim wasn't backed by the official FBI, just some dude in a briefing room. A few minutes later, he joked, "I'm actually Charlie Kirk, wanted to get out of politics, so I faked my death so I can live out my dream life in Kansas." Oh my God. Dude, we are living in such a weird time, man. In terms of being extremely online, in terms of Twitter and online becoming a part of real life, this is one of those very strange moments, okay? I don't know why Discord was saying this dude wasn't on our app. I don't know. He wasn't communicating on our app or whatever. I don't know what the hell's going on as well. The New York Times article has the full messages. They joked about avoiding McDonald's too because that's how Luigi got caught. Yeah, so I'll get started on one aspect of this story that I briefly talked about, but obviously I wasn't when they first found the shooter, I wasn't live, right? When they first found the shooter, when they first apprehended the shooter, I wasn't live. But a lot of other people were covering it, and they were making up their minds on what this ideological profile was. I think it was too soon to tell, but my early assessment was looking at the meme profile, which is a stupid thing to actually say out loud when talking about mass shooters. But God damn it, unfortunately, that is a thing that we have to do. Looking at the mimetic profile of the shooter and the things that the shooter wanted to communicate, I basically said, look, it's too soon to tell the ideological background, but it's very obvious that he has a right-wing family, Mormon family, all this stuff. Some family members are connected to the military. Early on, they thought his dad was law enforcement, and they found out that wasn't the case. That's whatever. But he clearly was a white kid from a real ass American Utah family, right? And even Governor Cox had some statements about this. Even Governor Cox himself was like, "Oh, I was praying that he wasn't one of us. I hoped it was like some Muslim transgender guy from, Idaho or whatever, or from not from this country." And it turns out he's one of us. And I saw that and I was like, that's a weird thing to say out loud, buddy. That's a weird thing to say out loud, but we are living in increasingly weird times, so I guess it's fine that you're just saying it, okay? Like, you know how people will always say, like, because of the unlimited that marginalized populations are subjected to, many of you have probably had that moment where you see like a mass shooting or something and you're like, oh my God, I hope the shooter isn't like trans or black or brown or undocumented or something like that, because like, what is yet to come. Well, these guys are now doing the reverse of that because they want to do more violence, it seems. So they're like, oh, every time there's a shooter, even though most of the time it's like a white dude, and this time it was a white dude as well, I was praying it wasn't one of ours, I was praying it wasn't one of ours. And it's like, it's not like it changes anything if it's a white guy who's a right winger, the shootings. And it seems like the right collectively have decided a lot of these guys are responsible for the shooting. So let's just turn around and imagine that the shooter is a trans leftist every time, right? And it's crazy. It's crazy. Because like the impact is not the same. You know what I mean? There's not like there's no legislation to like ban young white boys who are a little quirked up on the internet when there's another young white boy who is a little too quirked up who does a mash. That's not a thing. But God forbid, if anyone has like even been around a trans person, it seems, they're like, oh, we have to literally arrest and prosecute and criminalize every trans person in the country. Now, I watched so much. I watched the Nancy Mace and the Republicans basically go from, we have to kill everybody immediately. We have to kill anyone that's ever been like, maybe we shouldn't be mean to gay people because they're all radical transgender Antifa leftists who are doing unlimited violence, the white Christians or whatever, to then turn around and be like, oh no, he was one of our boys again. Oh well, pray for his soul. Pray for his lost soul. And then they turned around and they were like, he went to a Mormon university for one semester, and that's where he got hit with the transgender woke ray, right? And then everyone was like, dog, he took one semester and didn't even have any in-person classes, and then left to go work for to go to a technical school, right? Like, what are we talking about? This person's background is so perfectly like right-wing in the way that these guys have designed the world. So they just couldn't figure that out as well. But now they're saying it's actually a transgender roommate, that he was radicalized by a transgender. Like, it has to be a trans person, it seems, for these guys. Like, I don't know what will happen. I do know that because it's such a permanent part of American politics, which I wrote about on the New York Times, by the way, we're going to be talking about that in a second. It's an inevitability that these things will continue to happen unless, in the absence of any sort of like serious legislation to stop. It has happened every other week, and it will most likely, unfortunately, continue to happen. And I guess in the next phase here is going to be like, was the shooter ever around a trans person at all? Like, we have to look through the next school shooter. If they've even been in the direction, if they've even looked into the direction of a trans person, that's probably how they got radicalized. Like, that's where we're at now. Like, these people are trying to say like, oh, you were roommates with a trans person, I think, and therefore that's the reason why you did a mash. Like, it's just so insane. And what's extra messed up is that people are like, the media is dropping the ball in spectacular fashion. So I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. It's just, everything is wrong. Everything is busted. Everyone is angry. I guess like the only thing I'm hoping for, and I said this like the first couple of days, is, maybe these guys will just focus on the burger aspect of things, and we'll just like get it out of their system by being like, we're going to cancel a bunch of people. We're going to cancel a bunch of people on the left, that we are claiming is, responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, and then they'll turn around and they won't engage in acts of something like that. Hopefully, what is this viral tweet about you? I think I saw this. I saw this one. Yeah, if God forbid a leftist like Hasan Parker were a lot of centrist Dems wouldn't even publicly mourn him. The idea that any GOP governor would fly flags at half mast for him like Dems. Like Dem Govs or for Kirk is beyond laughable. That's the imbalance we have in this country. Anyway, it's true. His grandma was upset that people call him left wing. I know, I saw that too. Yeah, that was also crazy. His grandmother was more upset at the fact that they were calling him a leftist than at the fact that he had shot Charlie Kirk. Like, she was like, listen, high profile figures is something that I'm not too fond of, but I can understand it. But do not say he did it because of radical transgender Antifa. We are a Republican family. That's what she said. It was crazy. Anyway, she probably doesn't know what's going on with the grandchild anyway. So like, there's so much like secondary and secondhand, third hand, fourth hand, like totally irrelevant information that people run with and then try to retract after the fact. Also, this person's tweet that went viral, this person sucks so much ass. This guy, I don't like Hasan Piker, but if he died tomorrow, Fox News would be celebrating Trump, post a shitty AI meme celebrating his death on True Social. This dumb, literally, this Destiny dick riding piece of shit once famously said Donald Trump should deport Hasan because I don't like him. So he's just farming, okay? Don't get it twisted. That motherfucker's just farming. Anyway, I don't like people invoking your name in this discourse, even if it's hypotheticals. I know. I don't like it either. Okay, so Joyce Carol O's defending you after you're quoting your New York Times article. Yeah. So where was I? All right, so a lot has taken place. Let's get started. Even Moist Critical is spreading misinformation that he's a leftist. Look, guys, everyone is spreading misinformation. And at a certain point, you have to realize, like, are people spreading misinformation if they're just, like, rehashing what high-profile legacy publishers are saying? Because high-profile legacy publishers are dropping the ball without doing the proper investigation. Without doing the proper investigation, they're just, like, moving forward with whatever sound bites they can get. And one thing that's actually interesting in this process is like no matter how biased the police are, no matter how incompetent the police are, even cops, detectives, when they're setting up a shooter profile to figure out an ideological motive for a suspect in the aftermath of a situation like this, they will go to friends, right? They will go to the friends of the shooter and they will go to the family of the shooter, but they won't actually move on with that as like key pieces of evidence until they fully fleshed out a psychographic profile for the shooter. The media, on the other hand, is so horny to not get outflanked by the likes of, I don't know, Steven Crowder or whatever, that they are deciding that some random fucking neighbor actually can give us a convincing case on who this person is, right? Oh, we went to a friend. The friend called him a leftist. And then they retract the article and they go, okay, maybe the friend didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. He's just like talking out of his ass. So this is what's really annoying about it, where I cannot even fault the likes of, I don't know, Moist Critical for going along with what he is seeing in the news and then responding to it. Having said that, however, like I said, given what I know about like right-wing meme profiles with shooters, the last one being the Minneapolis church shooter that we talked about. If you remember, the Minneapolis church shooter was a far-right neo-Nazi that was most likely radicalized in one of these Telegram groups, not dissimilar to the Colorado school shooter that actually shot up his school an hour after Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at UVU. And yet, the reason why I'm bringing that one up is because people said, oh, that's transgender radical Antifa. That's a transgender radical Antifa shooter. And they still are saying that. That wasn't the case. And the reason why I say that wasn't the case is because that shooter in Minneapolis very clearly showcased a meme profile that is consistent with far-right neo-Nazi, extremely nihilistic, esoteric neo-Nazi school shooters and mass shooters in general. And what I mean by that is like he was venerating, Anders Breivik and the Christchurch shooter, like all these different white nationalists and white supremacists. Whereas this shooter's memes did not reach that standard at all, which is why I said Tyler Robinson, Kirk's alleged shooter, came from a Mormon family in both law enforcement and the military, but I'm not so certain if he himself was right-wing. A lot of the memes posted on the casings are ironic or of the left variety, different than previous far-right shooters. It's too soon to tell, but this is important to understand. As well, I said, I think people need to understand that there's a massive online far-right wing community that hated Charlie Kirk. This is something that I've brought up as well. Nick Fuentes, contrary to popular opinion, contrary to how he's presenting himself right now, Nick Fuentes has actually said infinitely more violent shit about Charlie Kirk than I ever have. Okay? So it's not like I had a more cordial relationship with Charlie Kirk as opposed to Nick Fuentes. That is the reality. That is the irony, because everyone in the far right and everyone in the right wing thinks I'm responsible for this, and they keep saying I'm the one who's responsible for this. Fuck you, Hasan, you did this. Meanwhile, if you look back at his statements, Nick Fuentes' statements about Charlie Kirk, you will see like he talked about fucking doing an endless amount of violence to him, and also Turning Point USA and whatnot. So they have been hunting and pursuing Charlie Kirk for quite a while, as a matter of fact. So, but that doesn't really matter in this moment, because like everyone on the right is very clearly trying to get together and use this as an opportunity to attack their ideological opposition, their enemies. They're using this as an opportunity to say like, no, it's the left that's hateful and all this stuff. So that's what's so crazy about this entire situation too, because like as far as I can remember, I don't think I've ever said anything that's remotely as violent about Charlie Kirk as like Nick Fuentes has. I mean, here's some choice ones, I think. I mean, there's a lot of metaphor that he uses as well, to be fair, and metaphors are things that I've used as well in the past, not directionally against like Charlie Kirk or anybody like that, but those metaphors are obviously being used currently in clips that are completely clipped out of context to make it seem as though I was like advocating for violence against the right or whatever the fuck, which is yet another story that I'm going to be covering as well. So, but ultimately, I am I'm still of the mindset that it's like entirely too early. But one thing I have noticed is, and I suspect that there is I've noticed the tendency of the right to basically go along with misinformation no matter who's doing it, right? What I mean by that is I saw a fuck ton of liberal accounts posting the shooter's like a photoshopped t-shirt of the shooter wearing like a Trump shirt that's not real. I saw so many people immediately go, this is a Groyper, this is a Groyper, this is a Groyper. And I wasn't online at the time. And, I didn't have the opportunity to like seriously go back and forth on this stuff at the time. But I wasn't so certain. There were people saying he was a DSA guy. I knew that wasn't real. They just like doxed another random DSA guy, which was really fucked up, but classic. But a lot of people, and I think what's more interesting is that a lot of right-wingers, I think when they saw the shooter, also decided he might be right-wing. Okay? What do I mean by this? Because once they found out the demographic background, once they found out his like family, his family history, the right toned down the calls for civil war and decided we got to lower the temperature, decided we got to pray for this young boy's soul, this young boy's heart. That was insane, because I felt like I got slapped up, like I got whiplash from how quickly they went from we have to kill every leftist person, because this was very obviously a transgender Antifa leftist, to we have to save this boy's soul by praying for him. And that led me to believe that maybe they think he's right wing. And I don't know if it's because they have more information that I was not privy to, right? Here's the Nancy Mace tweet compilation. That's the classic one that everyone is obviously pointing to. Time to bring back the death penalty. Enough is enough. Representative Nancy Mace comments on Charlie Kirk's killer allegedly being pro T-word. Okay? And then after the background of the shooter is found, we know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for such an evil and lost individual like Tyler Robinson to find Jesus Christ. We will try to do the same. We truly believe if Tyler Robinson had ever sat down from Charlie, the great debater, the man of faith and grace he was, Tyler wouldn't have pulled the trigger. Like, it's insane. It's insane. They didn't even hide it. They just straight up went from, this is a radical Antifa transgender, and we need to kill all of them, to like, we have to pray for this young boy's soul. So I think it's like a combination of different factors. One, it's because not only was he white, but he was a corn-fed white boy. You know what I mean? He was a real ass like Mormon Utah boy. Okay. And I do think that these guys, unironically, I never thought this until this moment, but I really do think that a lot of right-wingers just straight up respond to race. Okay. I think that's it. Like when they see someone who is not just like white, but also not white in a spicy way where like they got a septum ring and fucking, I don't know, a hammer and sickle tattoo, but like just straight up, if you are like a white boy from a Republican family, they go, oh no, that's one of us. That's, you know, it's obviously that this person was not like a leftist. Like that's the way they reacted to it, even if there wasn't enough evidence to suggest it at the time. And I think the other reason is because they saw all the Groyper stuff. They saw the Groyper stuff. They saw all the people being like, oh, this guy's a right-winger. He voted for, or he's a registered Republican. He gave money to the Republicans, which is fake, by the way. That's a totally different Tyler Robinson, which, again, Tyler Robinson is the most, like, if you were to point to, like, the most average Utah boy, I would literally build out a profile of Tyler Robinson, right? Republican. It's like John Smith, you know, Tyler Robinson, white boy, went to college for one semester, dropped out, didn't pursue it, and went back and got like an apprenticeship, went to a technical school. Like he did the most right-wing shit that you could possibly do. Not saying that like anyone that goes to a technical school is right-wing, but like that is how the right has presented the best possible future. You come from a good family, your family is always there for you, and then you don't go to college because college makes you woke and gay, and you get an apprenticeship instead, right? Like you go to a technical school, you get an apprenticeship, you work a real job, an honest job, right? None of this like fake gay vaccine related college jobs. Like he did all of that. He's a gun pervert, family of gun perverts since 8 years old. He's been like, you know, shooting guns and whatnot. So I think like when they saw all of that stuff, they went, oh, this is probably one of our guys. As I also mentioned, like Governor Cox said. So they decided, oh yeah, no, we should maybe dial it back a little bit. Having said that, that didn't stop Ben Shapiro from continuing to pursue this stuff. Even though what he was operating off of was like obviously a now retracted newspaper piece. I think it was on The Guardian. And what's interesting is he got owned by fucking Bill Maher of all people. And I feel like if you're getting owned by Bill Maher, you should just throw in, you should throw the towel. You should throw in the towel. You should never try to debate ever again. Because Bill Maher is like, I mean, he's not a particularly intelligent individual. He's not, I mean, Maher is like pretty humiliating, I think.
It's a shooting at a synagogue. It is very likely to be either a white supremacist or a radical Muslim. If it is a shooting of a Republican politician, it is very likely to be a trans Antifa Marxist shooter.
That is just not.
That's just insane to say. Like, dog, none of those fucking, like, that was not the case. That did not happen. Thomas Crooks is not like a radical transgender Antifa guy. He was a registered Republican, man. Thomas Crooks was a registered Republican. He was wearing like a gun tuber merch. Like sometimes you got to understand, like there is just some fucking quote unquote apolitical right adjacent people that just decide I'm going to make a name for myself by shooting the president. It's insane. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's just not the case.
We don't know what this kid is.
We do know this kid was of the left. We do know that.
We do know what?
That this kid was of the political left. That is according to contemporaneous reporting from The Guardian as well as Tablet Magazine today.
It's 2 days out. We don't know shit, Ben.
But
we don't know shit. They never do. The internet is undefeated in getting it wrong to begin with.
It's not about the internet.
He's fucking right. And The Guardian actually retracted that article. Unironically, I cannot believe Bill Maher is right. I cannot believe I'm saying this. Bill Maher is right. Ben Shapiro is so stupid and so professionally wrong that he made the most annoying, professionally stupid and wrong guy look good in comparison. How is that possible? How is that even possible, man? It's crazy, okay? There should be no comeback from this. If Bill Maher dunks on you, it's over.
About the actual reporting by mainstream accepted. The Guardian is not a right-wing.
Here's what we heard. Here's what I was told so far, and I'll tell you what was wrong. First, I heard he's a registered Republican. Not true. Okay. Then he was a donor to Trump. Not true. His father works in the sheriff's office. Not true. There was a picture of him wearing a pro-Trump shirt. Not true. Member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Not true. We don't know what he is.
Well,
how are you so sure he's of the left? Now, I agree when you write on a bullet, what did he write on the bullet? Catch this
fascist, which is also a gamer thing.
Okay, but now I'm hearing he may have been part of that group for whom Charlie Kirk was not right-wing enough.
You mean the Groypers, yes. I mean, so that would...
You're sure he's not that?
So this is a cooking right here. This is a cooking because Ben hates the Groypers, okay? Ben hates the Groypers almost as much as he hates the left for obvious reasons. The Groypers are anti-Semitic. They're anti-Israel and also anti-Semitic, which, of course, anti-Semitism in that regard is not something that Ben Shapiro actually takes issue with. It's the anti-Israel sentiment, as I've said time and time again. This is something that Ben himself has also voluntarily revealed, like when talking about Ann Coulter, and on numerous other occasions, Ben has quite literally been like, anti-Semitism is fine as long as you're pro-Israel. Like, he's openly said it. And the Groypers have obviously like stalked him as well, including Nick Fuentes. I do find it really interesting that like Groypers are becoming mainstream though. Like, they're now literally talking about this shit on television. Like, my mom asked me what a Groyper is. My mom, I was like, it's over. It's done. When moms are asking about what the fuck a Groyper is, it is clearly the narrative that this might be a far-right neo-Nazi shooter, regardless of whether it's true or not. And I'm not saying that that is the case. Make no mistake. I'm saying it's too soon to tell. But clearly, when moms are asking about what the fuck a Groyper is, like, clearly that is in normie circles. Like, I think on Facebook and all over the internet, like it just blew up. It blew up as like a potential for the shooter being like a far right guy. And what's interesting about it is I've never experienced that before. I've never experienced like misinformation or at least like faulty information spreading in the left direction like this in the aftermath of a shooting. But it was actually weird to see so many right-wingers also go along with that and like recalculate their messaging out of the fear that this might be a fucking Groyper. Isn't that crazy? Like, I think right-wingers are so susceptible to misinformation that they're more susceptible to misinformation than real, accurate, truthful assessment and truthful analysis, that if you just make stuff up, they're more inclined to believe it. If you just go, hey man, let's dial it back real quick. Let's wait a couple days before we figure out exactly the ideological profile of this person. He's alive. You know, there will be interrogations and whatnot. Nope. As long as you lie in either direction, you can lie in the left direction, you can lie in the right direction. Right-wingers will jump on board, it seems, which is crazy. But yeah, it was very interesting. This TikTok explains the memes on the bullets. Yeah, this is my goat. I like this guy a lot, Aiden, etc. He's a reporter. He talks about like culture and stuff, like far right radicalization networks online quite a bit. Here's his piece on the memes on the bullet casings for the shooter. We'll look at that. What is this breaking? It's being reported that 6 transgenders had advanced knowledge of Charlie Kirk's assassination. What the fuck? What does that even mean, bro? What does that even fucking mean, bro? Breaking news. Remember what I said about Donald Trump saying everything's transgender and then people understand it. That's what this is now. You can just put transgender in anything, in any context, in any situation. You can just apply transgender to it and people will fucking go, that's right. That's probably the case. We have to do something. Like, the right is so easily fucking duped on this shit. Yeah, like, they went, the shooter is trans. Okay, the bullets were trans. Okay, the roommate is trans. Like, what the fuck? How could people not realize this is a psychotic way to approach the situation? What if the shooter wanted to be trans? You never know, like, ahead of time. You know what I mean? It's like, when all else fails, they just lie and they go along with that lie. It just doesn't make any sense. There's like a 90% chance that all trans people found out by now that Charlie is dead. Yeah. Everybody knows transgender people are magical people. They just like fucking communicate with one another through telepathy, and they were sending out a beacon. It's just like when you start taking HRT, you just have this like these additional powers. You're a really good swimmer too. It's like it gives you swimming powers, okay? It gives you weightlifting powers, and it also gives you the power to precog assassinations ahead of time. That's just how it is. Once you get on that HRT, bro, it's crazy, okay? Like, I'm joking about this shit, but like unironically, that is how it's coming across. Anyway, let me finish this Bill Maher dunk because he goes, well, don't you think he could be a Groyper?
But now I'm hearing he may have been part of that group for whom Charlie Kirk was not right-wing enough.
You mean the Groypers, yes. I mean, so that would...
That you're sure he's not that?
I'm not sure that he's not that.
A minute ago you were sure what he was.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on. Okay, because I've been...
You were.
That's it. You just got fucking destroyed by Bill Maher of all people, okay? By Billiard Jedediah Maher, dude. Come on. Anyway, here, let's look at the meme, the meme analysis of the casings and stuff. I'm gonna go pee real quick.
Charlie Kirk's life was engraved with a 12-year-old furry bashing meme. Notice his bulge, ooh woo, what's that? Which tells us an important thing. This assassination was a shitpost. That is the lens to analyze it through. Another of the casings references a video game, Helldivers 2, and a specific bomb that you could send on your enemies in the game with the command up, right, down, down, down. This command line sort of became a meme in image boards where it would be deployed to kind of represent, ending an argument, but almost more so as just like, if you know, you know. And that sort of signals the in-group there. Another of the 4 casings references Bella Ciao, which is an Italian anti-fascist anthem from the World War II era that has stuck around and remained very popular online. It's been used both in left and right-wing political contexts, and it's used in a lot of video games. And then the 4th and final shell casing was engraved with, if you're reading this, you're gay, LMAO. This was a shitpost. It was designed to be maximally disruptive and incomprehensible, cloaked in layer upon layer of irony so that nobody would know what he really meant unless they were our guy. This performs a kind of nihilism that plays really, really well on particular image boards and Discord servers where this guy spent most of his life. And I say most of his life because that furry meme is from 2013. He was 10 years old when it was first posted and became popular. He, like you and I, grew up alongside this part of the internet that trickled out through the other platforms that we went on and has actually informed and driven a lot of our politics. Half of the administration right now is content creators who are wearing masks, going out on these deportation raids, the guys who are staffers of Republican members of Congress in these different executive departments, the guys who are 19 years old called in by Elon to Doge things. These are all Reddit kids. These are all guys who were on 4chan in 2013, laughing at that furry meme. Now, the question everybody's asking is, was this kid a Groyper? And the question everybody's parents are asking is, what is a Groyper? So Groypers are the most extreme fringe of this kind of image board nihilistic culture that I'm talking about. They're led by Nick Fuentes, who is a content creator and a streamer, and they really are about transgressing any boundary that exists. They are like explicitly white nationalists, really bad, horrible people. The name Groyper originates from this variant of Pepe the Frog, which comes about in the late 2010s, and these guys adopt it as a kind of collective self-portrait.
Great breakdown, by the way.
They make it their profile picture, they make it their moniker. There was the Groyper War of 2019, in which Nick Fuentes and his people trolled Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, showing up at these debate events and asking questions that would...
Like, it feels embarrassing to know all of this, but I guess it's gotten to a point where, like you kind of have to know this stuff now because like a lot of this like extremely online shit is having an impact in the real world. Like I don't know how to describe it beyond like I knew about all this shit. Most of you know about all this shit. I spent most of my political career talking about this stuff as well, and it's just crazy that like I feel almost hypocritical telling you to be normal and not be so fucking online and consistently telling you that like the bus driver test should be applied here. Like, can you describe the situation to a bus driver in 60 seconds in a convincing manner? And now I'm realizing like we might need to explain all this to the bus driver. The bus driver test might not be that valuable or reliable any longer. Because like I talk about Telegram quite a bit. I talk about Groypers. Telegram is like the newer version of this. It's even more decentralized, it's even more insane, it's even more nihilistic and more violent. And I've covered that stuff extensively as well, especially in the past month. But you know, this is like if you think the Groyper stuff basically is the end of this depravity, it's not. Like I would say you got Reddit, you got 4chan, you got 8chan, you got Groypers, and then you have the Terrorgram, which is even crazier than that, right? Like Order of Nine Angles and all those other different groups, right? So it gets, and the further you go down that rabbit hole, the darker things get, the more cultish things get, and the more violent things get. But it's wonderful that every child basically has access to this unlimited fresh hell of online radicalization and have basically grown up with this kind of shit.
Kirk to say things that were even more extreme than Kirk was already saying. So where Charlie Kirk took like one step toward these kind of white or Christian nationalist ideas, the Groypers took 2 steps. They demanded that he make the subtext text. One post people have been citing as proof of the Groyper hypothesis is this one from his mother's Facebook that shows.
Like, I don't think this is enough. I don't think this is enough to indicate that he's a Groyper. I'll be honest. And I said that to Jason Palladino as well. Fantastic reporter who was of the mind that this was like definitely a Groyper. And I basically said,